Okay, so today I'm attempting to get the decking on the trailer. Interestingly enough, I used the trailer itself as one of the sawhorses. Got the plywood cut in half. A little issue there in the center. Kind of gouged that, but oh well. Just gonna get beat on anyway. I decided to purchase a circular saw, and as usual, go inexpensive, but not super inexpensive. I didn't want to go to Harbor Freight for one of their POSs. For the same basic price, you can get a Ryobi from Home Depot with a warranty instead of the Harbor Freight 90-day thing. So you get a warranty, and this one has a laser, if you can see that, alignment on it to help you guide. So I made a chalk line across halfway, made sure it was nice and square, and then set up with a circular saw to do the cut, and the laser was way out of alignment. Look at the manual, it says, well, it's factory aligned, it shouldn't need adjusting. But if you do, here's the instructions. And the instructions say to line it up with a square, make sure it's lined up square on the edge, one of the edges of the guide there, and lined up with a line that's extended out, and should line up with this notch straight out. If not, use a flat blade screwdriver to turn the adjusting screw to align it. Okay. Well, there's actually two adjustments on this. One is this Phillips screw over here, which adjusts it left to right along that line. But the line was also cocked this way. It was kind of coming out this way. And there's no other screws except for the three to remove this cover. So I ended up removing the cover. Find out that the laser is just in there. It's a circular cylinder in there with an O-ring compressed on this, and two notches in the front, so you can use a flat blade screwdriver to kind of tweak it a little bit. So put the cover back on and then proceeded to adjust that, but it does not hold still very well. So I have a feeling that just about every time I want to use this, I'm going to have to double check the alignment on the laser to make sure it's still in alignment that way. But overall, it cuts really well. Once the laser's aligned, it is extremely useful. So I'm happy on the overall. It seems to have plenty of power. Cut the blade they give you, cuts through this 3/4 plywood like butter. I had it set just a little too shallow, so I got a right edge there, but and left a little piece where it separated, and that's when it dropped because I didn't have them completely supported. The blade jumped into that. But so that's my quick review of the Ryobi. They have a couple of models with lasers. So this one is the CSB. It's not going to focus. CSB135L. It's a 7 1/4 inch circular saw with laser, 14 amp. That's a very nice saw. I'll have to use, I needed one anyway because we're going to be redoing the deck at our house, and so figured it was a worthwhile investment with some of the money I got from selling my truck. It was $47. They have a model without the laser that's $39.90 whatever. So basically $40 will get you one the same basic saw without the laser. An extra, well, it's actually 47 something, so it's about an extra $8 to get the laser, whether you think that's useful or not. But good saw. And all the Harbor Freight ones are, let's see, this one is 14 amps. The non-laser is actually only 13 amps, real close. All the Harbor Freight ones are $40 and above, and no laser. And 10 amps. They're only 10 amps. So I figured for the price to get a warranty and an extra 4 amps and the laser, it was worth it. Alright, I'm going to get to marking and drilling holes, and as far as I can tell, you either have to notch out around, either have to notch out around this bolt or take this bolt out and replace it with one of your bolts for holding the plywood down. According to the instructions, it looks like they intend you to take them out. Do the plywood. So you can either notch for them or take them out. We'll see, since those are actually bigger bolts. It's kind of a structural point, and those are bigger bolts than what I have for holding the decking down. I'm only going with a 5/16. Give me a little extra adjustment, and you don't need a whole lot since you're going to have 30 screws holding the 2 pieces of decking down. So I may actually try and notch a little bit off of the corners, or notch a little bit that way with a saw and a chisel. Just take a corner about halfway off and leave it sitting on top of that. We'll see. Well, here's what I've done. Just marked off and use the circular saw to cut off 2 layers. Use the circular saw to cut down through 2 layers. Use the chisel to pop those 2 layers off right where the bolts are up there. Hopefully that should work. We'll find out here in just a second. I'm going to do the same thing for the back side once I'm done here with the front. Okay, so I've got the back half all bolted down. Now I've got it standing up on its casters so I can do the bolt on the front half. I had it laid down on the tongue and its wheels with the back half flipped up for putting on the bolts, or the carriage bolts and the nuts on the back side, and then just stood it up on end so I can easily access this side. That way I don't have to crawl around underneath it. I'm using 5/16 carriage bolts. I bought half of them shorter, half of them longer, because I originally planned on the fact that there's a gap, let's see, down here because of the frame rail lineup. But I got too many long ones, so of course my ratchet doesn't want to fit on the long ones. I would have been fine with all the shorter, but it's okay. You live and you learn. So I'm using 5/16 carriage bolts, flat washer, and nylocks on all of them, so nothing should vibrate loose while going down the road. Alright, I'm going to get to bolting up this side and check back in with you after that. Alright, so there it is, folded up with the decking on. The carriage bolts do interfere with each other just a little bit, and the decking too is a little thick. It's 3/4, which is what they say it should be, but really to keep it closing completely, you probably want to go with 5/8 or something along those lines. But it folds up good enough. I secure it with a bungee on the top so that it doesn't fall down, and I can roll it in and out. That's all it's got to do is stay in storage that way. All the bolts are in, carriage bolts are in. One thing I did notice is, when I adjusted these wheel bearings, I made sure that after I was done there was no play side to side in them whatsoever. After running it to Home Depot to pick up the decking and back, which is what, 12 miles total? 12 to 14, I don't remember exactly. Now there's some slop in there, so I'm gonna pop the caps back off and readjust those now that they've had time to run in just a little bit. And then I'm gonna Then I'll fold it down and give you a view of it all folded down and put it back away. We'll do the railing another day. I don't have the supplies for it yet. Okay, so this side I've got readjusted. No play. Spins nice and freely. Then I went over here to adjust this side, and I'm like, I didn't notice it at first because it was down like this. I'm like, why is there still play? The lug nuts are coming off. I didn't bother to double check that they had them on tight and torqued, and evidently 2 of them are just coming right off. Well, 3 of them are coming loose, so I'm going to double check the torque on all the lug nuts once I get it down. But got the wheel bearing adjusted pretty much where I want it, and so I'll get that put back together, put the cap back on, and I'll set her down, tighten up those lug nuts. Okay, well, there it is with its deck and the wheel bearings readjusted and the lug nuts tightened up. So there's one thing to take away from this: don't trust anything that's pre-assembled on these things. Those lug nuts were quite loose. In fact, a couple of them, from where they were sitting and how much they turned before, and how much this, I think the studs weren't fully pressed in. I think I was pulling the studs into place in the hub. But some of them, even after they started to snug up, turned for quite a ways, and the stud pulled farther through the nut than I would have expected otherwise. Anyway, there it is. Time to fold it up and put it away so I can go pick up the boy. It's about that time. Alright, gotta clean up my tools and put that away and put the bikes back in, and should be good to go. But yeah, don't trust anything on these. If the nuts and bolts are in place already, double check them. And after you get it put together, take it for a short shakedown cruise. 7-8 miles, something like that. Take it for a drive and double check everything. I'm a little out of breath because I'm cranking on those things with my trusty lug wrench there. And in order to keep the trailer from moving, I was having to sit basically on the fender so I could hold the trailer still with my legs and my weight. Yeah. There it is. It actually doesn't have too big of a gap right there, so that's good. It's cheap plywood. It's nothing fancy, but it's strong, plenty strong. So I'm not too confident. I've seen other videos on YouTube. Most common complaint is the hub's blowing apart. So that's why I've been taking careful notes of how I adjust it and checking it and readjusting after the drive there. Gotta pay close attention to those, and I plan on getting some bearing buddies to stick on there, and so I can probably actually at that point take them apart, clean all the grease that's in them out, put the bearing buddies on, and we'll repack the bearings and then put the bearing buddies on and pump them up and hopefully keep that from happening ever. And then the other thing that I worry about, because I've seen a couple pictures of failed ones, is this right here. Because you load the trailer down with a 1/2 ton, a lot of weight gets placed on this little weld, and the other weld on the other side is even worse. Let's see if you can see it. It's probably too dark. Oh, you can see my leg. Where's my camera? There it is. See how that piece is bent in, and then it's just welded at the top. And not the strongest thing. So that is a point of failure on a few of them. So when I get better at welding, I may put some sort of gusseting or something on there to help reinforce that. Alright, I think that's it for today. Goodbye, YouTube.